All right, today we're digging into a blueprint, but this isn't for a skyscraper or a bridge. It's the new strategic plan from the Chiang Rai Educational Service Area, and it's a blueprint for building our future students. So let's break this down, pillar by pillar, and see what this construction plan really means for our kids and our community.
This right here, this is the big question that drives the whole thing. I mean, it's not just about memorizing dates and facts anymore, is it? The world is changing so fast, and our education system has to keep pace. That's why they're framing this whole thing as a construction project. The goal is to build a student who's resilient, capable, and ready for a future that, let's be honest, we can't even fully imagine yet.
Any good build starts with a solid foundation. And in this blueprint, that foundation is Pillar 1, opportunity for all. The idea behind it is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Every single child, no matter their background, no matter their circumstances, deserves a real shot at learning and succeeding.
And look, this isn't just some nice-sounding phrase. It's written right into the plan as a core promise. The mission is to increase educational opportunity and equality for all school-aged children. You can see how this commitment to fairness really is the bedrock for the entire structure they're trying to build.
So, you might be wondering, how does a big, lofty goal actually help a student in the real world? Well, this is where we connect the dots. A high-level project like promoting diverse learners isn't just theory. It translates directly into tangible things, like hands-on vocational training for some students, or better, more focused support for kids with special needs. This is how a policy document actually becomes personal.
And here's where the rubber meets the road. The plan sets a very clear, measurable goal: to bring down the student dropout rate. That X on the screen, it isn't just a random number on a spreadsheet. It stands for real kids who are being kept in school, supported, and guided towards a future with more options. It's all about making sure fewer and fewer children fall through the cracks. Okay, so with that foundation of opportunity in place, it's time to put up the framework. Pillar 2 is all about equipping students with the skills they're actually going to need out there in the 21st century. This is where we start to move beyond just rote memorization and begin building the real-world skills they'll need for a super complex and fast-changing world.
The strategy is put pretty plainly: elevate the quality of education to align with change. And that's a huge signal that, the old way of doing things just isn't going to cut it anymore. The goal here is basically to future-proof our education, to make sure that the lessons learned in the classroom today are still relevant for the challenges of tomorrow.
Now, a huge part of this shift is this idea of active learning. So what is that? Well, instead of kids just sitting there passively while a teacher talks at them, active learning gets them involved. They're solving problems, they're working in teams, they're getting their hands dirty with the material. It's a fundamental shift from being passive listeners to being active participants in their own education.
So, what does this actually look like in class? Well, the academic strategy really zeroes in on 3 key areas. First, they're boosting English skills to meet global standards. Second, they're strengthening STEM by focusing on the scientific process, how to think like a scientist, not just memorizing facts. And at the same time, there's a really practical focus on improving performance on major tests like O-NET and PISA. It's a smart blend of future-focused skills and real-world results. Okay, so we've got our foundation of opportunity and our framework of skills. Now we need the smart systems to make the whole thing run smoothly. Pillar 3 is all about creating a smarter school. This means using technology, using data, and using innovation to improve how the entire organization is managed from the inside out.
The guiding principle here is to increase management efficiency with innovation. In other words, it's about looking at every single process, from how students enroll to how classroom supplies are ordered, and asking, is there a better, smarter way to do this? It's all about modernizing the school's backbone to better support the teachers and students on the front lines.
So how do you make sure a big plan like this is actually working? You build in a quality control loop. It's this constant cycle. You create a plan, you put it into action and monitor it, you do a serious self-assessment, and then, this is the crucial part, you get feedback and use it to improve. This is not a set-it-and-forget-it kind of plan. It's designed to constantly adapt and get better by building accountability right into the process.
And this whole smarter school idea isn't just talk. The plan gets specific about the actual tools.
We're talking about powerful platforms like Google Cloud and Microsoft 365 for collaboration, a dedicated school domain for secure communication, and access to huge digital libraries. These aren't just logos on a slide. These are the actual tools that will help run a modern school system more effectively.
Now let's get to our final and maybe the most critical pillar. Because all the skills and all the innovation in the world just don't matter if students don't feel safe. Pillar 4 is all about making sure there's a secure, supportive, and healthy environment where every kid can feel protected enough to just focus on learning.
The strategy here is about ensuring safety from all forms of danger. And I think that specific wording is so important. It tells you that we're talking about a really broad definition of safety, one that goes beyond just the physical school grounds to include a student's emotional, social, and even their digital well-being. So what does that bigger picture of safety look like? Well, of course you've got a big focus on physical safety and general health and wellness. But what's really interesting here is the equal weight given to things like developing social skills, understanding democratic values, and even caring for the environment. It paints a much more complete picture of what it really means to create a safe space for a young person to grow.
And this bigger picture approach is so crucial, right? Because the threats students face today are way more complex than they used to be. So the obvious question becomes, how exactly does this plan protect students from these very modern challenges? And the plan has some very concrete answers. You see practical things like emergency response training and anti-drug programs. But it also tackles modern threats head-on with things like cyber safety awareness and, so critically, putting robust mental health support systems in place. It's really a multi-layered defense, like building these practical shields to protect our kids from all angles.
So there you have it. 4 really distinct but totally interconnected pillars: opportunity, skills, smarter systems, and safety. When you put them all together, they form this complete blueprint that's designed to really transform the educational landscape and ultimately build a new kind of student.
When you boil it all down, it comes to this: 4 pillars, all working together toward one single incredibly important goal: to create a student who is genuinely ready for the future. That right there is the whole point of this entire plan.
And that leaves us with one last big thought. A blueprint? Well, it's just a plan on a piece of paper. It takes builders, teachers, parents, administrators, all of us in the community to actually make it a reality. So the real question isn't just about what's in the plan, it's about how we, together, are going to pick up the tools and help bring this vision to life. Thanks for tuning in.